Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana, the hostess with the mostest. Let's get into this. So, this evening we are going to be going over chromium. We are still in the transition metals. And I believe after we get out of these transition metals, we're going to go over the differences between the different groups and periods before we move forward, just so it'll be a little bit easier to understand. And as we phase through, we'll go over, the distinctions. We'll go back over, you know how it is, right? Things will pop up. But chromium, right? It's number 24, denoted on the chart as CR. It hardens steel, and it helps stainless steel not rust. They use it as a coating, right? It's used to manufacture steel. It is what synthesizes rubies. It is also what makes rubies red and emeralds green. It is used in paint and dyes, and it is a catalyst for dyeing and tanning leather. It's what you see on the chrome plating. So you know how if you see like a bumper or like the silver, really silver shiny part like around license plates or grills or something like that. It is also a catalyst for photochemical reactions. In other words, it is a catalyst used for reactions that occur through the absorption of energy in the form of light. So like photosynthesis would be an example. It is abundant in South Africa, Turkey, Kazakhstan, and India. Okay, and there we go again with those areas, right, that have gone through many transitions. It is mined in Montana. I'm sorry, just a little small amount. This particular element is it comes in many different forms, right? It is found in coffee. So is magnesium. We'll get to that with the magnesium later. But I'm so sorry. But yeah, little distraction. But it comes in many forms. The most common ones that don't really tend to be toxic to humans are the trivalent and the hexavalent forms. Obviously, we know that tri is 3 and hexa is, I think, 8. Okay, this is where it started getting interesting, right? Because here we relate everything to the spiritual world. So I started digging and trying to find out, where this is mainly found in the galaxy. Now, I would like to note that chromium is not found in its natural state in the environment. It is, however, found in the form of ores. So ores are pretty much just rocks or sediments, right? It helps with insulin. It helps regulate insulin levels, and it doesn't evaporate. The pure metallic form does not occur naturally, okay? So this is where it started getting interesting. It is not found in our environment. Again, it doesn't evaporate into the atmosphere. It is the 21st most abundant mineral in the Earth's crust, making it a little rare. It is radioactive, but not magnetic when it is in the oxidated forms, right? It doesn't do well in oxygen. So when we started looking to see like where this could be found in the atmosphere, it's not, right? But it is found in the Perseus galaxy, which is one of the 2 arms of the Milky Way galaxy, right? It's like a cluster of 100 in different galaxies, right? It's also known as Abel 426, and it is 235 million light years away. Just to put this into perspective, right? So how is it that we have traces of it in our food. So broccoli, mussels, wine, grape juice, apples, egg yolk, beer, a few other things, right? We mentioned coffee earlier. But it is useful, right? It's connected to weight loss and a few other things. Reduced response to glucose in blood. This is if you are deficient, okay? It is one of the only tasteless, odorless metals, and it has a melting point of 3,465, which is fairly low for transition metals. It does transition from one form to another quickly, based on conditions like the temperature, the environment, things like that. The trivalent form is what's found in like seawater. And remember, this is a metal, right? So this is really unique metal because most metals are, not odorless. We can taste them and we can smell them, but this one is. In fact, there are traces important to our health related to weight loss and balancing out our sugar levels. So because it's not really abundant, just laying around, right? Like copper or gold. But it is important to our glucose levels, and it being found nowhere in the atmosphere, and being found 235 million light years away. This is one of those elements that God has given us just enough of. We don't need much of it, right? Now we have the diopside form, which is, related to the metaphysics. This is, where the green gemstone and the red ruby comes in. It is said to alleviate aggression and stubbornness and increase love and commitment. Okay. In 2017, Turkey signed an industrial deal, and it's been a shortage ever since. It does improve your insulin, your protein, and your carbohydrates. It can be found in your spleen. What else? Soft tissues in your bones. Okay. It's also found in volcanic dust and different types of gases. And if you have an overexposure amount to it, breathing it in, it is related to respiratory cancers, and you'll start getting like skin rashes and things like that if it like touches you, right? If you are overexposed to it as far as your skin is concerned. Now, being as though this is found in a different galaxy, right? They started doing research, and then they found out that it was found in older stars or earlier stars that had formed earlier. Now, a lot of these different elements we find as a byproduct, right, of a supernovae or a star dying. But this particular one is not even found in our own galaxy. But yet, it is very important to balancing out our blood alcohol levels, our glucose levels. So that's something that we need to pay attention to. And I think it's important to note that these changes in the color to gemstones, different rubies and emeralds, this is a telltale sign that this particular element is important to balance, right? Because although it is said the green in the emerald is said to be a sign of an impurity, right, of this element, with us not having direct access to it, with it not being as abundant as some of the other transition metals that it's compared to. And this is related to the spiritual aspect, right? With the gems, the crystals, and being said to alleviate aggression and increase love and commitment. This is one of those things that we really need to pay attention to. And again, I mean, there was more information on this element than some of the other metals that we have discussed. But I do find it very important that the location of where these places are is some of those places that also need healing. I'm not really sure about the Montana aspect. I'm mainly just looking at where it's more abundant. America only has access to 7% of the chromium that is produced. So it's not like, we in this geographic region have been accessing it and using it in ways that they may have in India or South Africa, Turkey, or Kazakhstan, right? And these are all places where it's found in the form of chromite, a sediment, these are rocks. It's not in its pure form. This is an alloy. It's combined with another metal. So that's what's making it a little more rare. Now, with this being unstable in oxygen, it's also letting me know that it's not one of those elements that are going to be around for people to just use and abuse. And with this being such a low melting point and still being resistant to chromium, I didn't really see anything about it being being for us to be able to use it to get a current from it. And I just want to say this, right? Remember, anything toxic to your health is affecting your DNA. Anything that alters your DNA is affecting those behind you and coming in front of you. So just try to keep that in mind, right? Too much of anything is bad. Doesn't really matter what it is, or not enough of the things we need, right? Because everything is about balance in our bodies, in our atmospheres, in the spirit. But before we go, I just want to, it becomes toxic by entering your blood. It can affect the blood. So that's, again, one of those things where you get the exposure. If you're exposed, too much of it can be fatal, right? Remember, this element is effective and it changes depending on the form that it is in. So the trivalent and the hexavalent are two of the forms that we can take it in, and that's found in our food and in our water. This diopside is one of those oxygenated forms that is only good for other usages. It is found in this form when the gemstones, when the emeralds and the rubies turn colors, okay? So that's another one of those things you need to realize that depending on the form that it is in, so the temperature, the environment are going to affect how this particular, and this is with all, elements, but this is one of the main ones that is easier, manipulated easier. So I think it's important for us to start paying attention to the different elements and minerals that we might be able to work with in our everyday lives, right? These elements that we don't really have access to will give us a better understanding of the elements that they're similar to. Okay? And yeah, I think it's safe to say that we're going to start doing some recordings. I'm going to try to start getting access to some of the elements that we can get access to and start just doing different things so we can start seeing how they work in different areas of life, right? As far as our health is concerned, as far as the body and how the body uses it, as far as the environment, how we can sustain life from it and off of it. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I do love y'all. I hope y'all are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. I hope y'all getting your rest and taking care of yourselves. Love y'all. Peace.